This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to put up a video that I made for the website, and I know we'll likely get a strike here on YouTube, but I wanted to put it up here because a lot of new people have found my other channel, and I've told them to come over here and sub so they could watch the video. So this is a website exclusive video that people should see. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about Columbia University, these staged events. If you're new to all of it, you probably have no idea how this entire thing works. If you've been around the block like I have and most of you have with the channels, you obviously could smell these things a mile away. These are government created events. Obviously, everything they're doing is by design. So this is a video from the website. If you haven't checked out the website yet, callforanuprising.com. It's linked below. It's $2.99 a month for unlimited content, my entire archive videos, everything that's been removed from this platform that they won't allow on this platform, as well as a forum that's very interactive where people share lots of information with each other. They keep me informed. They show me things that I don't know. I learn things every day. That's what the website's for, to learn and not be censored. So the forum is great, uncensored content. You could interact with other people. You don't have to worry about what you say. And it's $2.99 a month because I have to put up a paywall to keep trolls out. I also have to put up a paywall to be able to put up the amount of content that I make to be able to hold it over there. And I also pay out of pocket for mass emails so that people can get email updates on where I'm uploading and also on my new content that goes on the website. So there's a fee for that. And again, the $2.99 keeps trolls out, and even ones that are willing to pay $3 so they can come and troll. They get about 3 seconds before somebody out there notifies me, notifies the forum, and they get removed, and then they have to go through the long, tedious process of trying to get a chargeback, which they could very welcomely do. I will refuse the chargeback, and they'll have to prove that they didn't join the website. So they can just throw $3 my way. That's perfectly fine. I'll use it to make the website better. I'll use it for some of the things I like to do on my own, like buy Bibles for people in need of Bibles, because there's nothing more important than the Bible. There's no more important book on the planet. It's the only book that actually matters. And of course, there's many people out there that don't have them, especially in today's world, who need them. So feel free if you want to do that. You're somebody out there, but I know a lot of you didn't know my website. It is, again, at callforanuprising.com. This video will only be on YouTube for a temporary period of time, so make sure you check it out. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Appreciate you guys. God bless you as always, and your families.
YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Overnight, campus protests escalating. Demonstrators occupying a building at Columbia University, smashing windows, barring the doors, and unfurling banners, including one reading Intifada. After protesters circled the campus earlier in the night, the unrest coming just hours after the university started suspending students who refused to leave an encampment after a deadline had passed.
These repulsive scare tactics mean nothing compared to the deaths of over 34,000 Palestinians.
Some faculty also on site, linking arms in front of the demonstrators. A growing number of universities are cracking down on pro-Palestinian protests spreading across college campuses. Overnight, at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, clashes between police and protesters on campus leading to arrests. And at UCLA in the early hours of the morning, authorities in tactical gear moving in during confrontations between dueling demonstrators. Earlier in the day, the students storming through a building and waving the Palestinian flag. Some Jewish students frustrated.
I have wholeheartedly always supported the right to freedom of protest and the freedom of speech, but when that starts to impede upon our right to education, be able to freely walk on campus, that's where I have an issue.
State troopers also in riot gear at the University of Texas Austin, detaining demonstrators, even carrying this person out by their hands, and at one point, students surrounding police. who say they use pepper spray to disperse the crowd. The university says it believes a majority of the protesters are not affiliated with the school. And as the protests continue to spread, the University of Florida taking a firm stance this morning. In a statement following arrests, the school saying the University of Florida is not a daycare and we do not treat protesters like children. They knew the rules, they broke the rules, and they'll face the consequences. As schools across the country struggle to deal with protests overtaking campuses.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I have to be very careful how I talk about this topic. I understand that a lot of other people out there, a lot of the big alt-right people can discuss it. So if you're hearing me talk about it, you're saying, why does he have to be careful talking about it? It's a big topic that's going on. Well, because you don't get the mainstream perspective from this channel, just like all of us who used to expose what the government was really doing with playing both sides, controlling both sides, and then pitting citizens against one another. That's exactly what's happening here. But of course, you have the alt-right media who specifically sides with Israel, and you have the liberal media that sides with Gaza. None of these people really have a clue out there who are actually protesting these events of what's really going on. But it could be an opportunity to wake them up. Because, of course, now all of a sudden we have Democrats who are siding against Israel. And little do they know that Israel is responsible for all of it. Israel is the one responsible for even the creation of Hamas. Israel controls all of it. And if these people took the time to figure out what was going on, this would actually serve as a huge waking up opportunity of Democrats out there to understand all of this. But if you're in the Psyop, if you're in the psychological operation, if you're taking sides, if you're siding with Palestine, you're siding with Israel, then you're a part of the game. And what people need to do is remove themselves from the game. So for those of you that have seen the protests going on at Columbia, this is all staged. This is 100% staged. And for people out there that don't understand how it works, let me quickly tell you. The government creates these events on college campuses, in schools, in malls. They create events. Ones like this, what they do is they place the antagonizers. They place the people who start these events. A lot of times they'll grab them from secret societies, and I'll get into that with Columbia University. For those of you that don't know how this works with Ivy League schools, Columbia University is loaded maybe more than any other Ivy League school with members of Congress, with members of government, with members of the CIA. And it's very fitting that they chose to do it on their own grounds at Columbia. But of course, it made it easier for them to carry out the operation. So they put people in there, right? In a sense, it's almost like the way COINTELPRO works. When natural organic events occur, the government infiltrates. An event like this, they actually start. They started. The people who are responsible for starting the protests on all the college campuses are all paid for government agents. What happens is monkey see, monkey do. Regular people at these schools are easily manipulated into going to these events, acting out the protest. They have no idea what they're even protesting. 2 months ago, they wouldn't even have known anything about Israel. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, they would have always sided with Israel and said, if you question Israel, it's anti-Semitism. So they don't even know what they're protesting. They're very easily manipulated into this stuff. So organically, people do join these protests. They do join these movements. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we can pull people out of this so they could realize from the get-go what they're even doing and why they're involved in this and who's really pulling their strings. Because Israel controls both sides. That's just the way that it is. All these agents on these campuses are all Zionist puppets. That's what they are, okay? Nobody from Palestine is showing up and protest. None of these people are naturally, organically doing it, but they're also using their favorite gaslighters. They're using Hollywood. They're using actors to come out and side with each side, and everybody is getting more and more divided by design over the issue. So let's look at some of the big things that are in play here, because people out there going, I don't understand the agendas that are behind it. Why would they do this anyway? Well, we'll get into the agenda of Albert Pike in World War III, but let's start with the obvious. Nobody seems to understand that a new world order cannot be formed. It is in place, but it cannot go forward without laws in place to remove free speech, okay? What you're seeing right now, you're seeing Mike Johnson, you're seeing these Jesuit puppets in Congress, like Ron DeSantis as well, telling you what free speech is and what it isn't. They're telling you what's not protected free speech. This is the beginning of this. That's the whole purpose of what they're doing with World War III. The bringing about of this is going to bring about a lot of different things. Economical fail. It's going to bring about division. It's going to bring about exhausting people to the point of submission, but it's also going to bring about laws in place. And that's why you keep hearing about what people can say, what they can't say, what's peaceful protest, what's not peaceful protest, right? And ultimately, it leads to this sentence that I'll read to you, okay? Free speech can normalize and spread beliefs that will produce violence. This is the argument that the communist regime is making against free speech. In other words, people like me, I'm talking on here and I'm openly telling people I don't call on violence. I don't say anybody should go and do something. In fact, I actually emphasize that going out there and protesting and doing those things really does nothing. Okay? There's other things that could be done economically. There's other things that could be done with psychologically not getting involved in this game anymore. It's like being in an unhealthy relationship, right? You remove yourself from an unhealthy relationship. Well, we remove ourselves from this relationship we have with this rogue government that's controlling everything and trying to manipulate us where they want to manipulate us and how they want to manipulate us into giving up our freedoms for their benefit, not for ours. So this stuff with what's free speech, what's not, what's a nice protest, what's a bad protest, this is what they're emphasizing with it, that free speech can lead to what you're seeing right now, right? Which is occupying university buildings. Okay, occupying university buildings. People feel like their lives are threatened. There's no acts of violence that are even needed. That speech can lead to something that would now be considered violence, which is just even occupying a building. 20 years ago, people would have laughed and said that it was peaceful protest. So we've gone from what peaceful protest is to a point where people think breathing on somebody else is assault. People think looking someone in the eye with a dead stare is assault. This is all to the government's benefit, of course. And like I've always talked about, I've always emphasized, the worst thing about what was going on with conservatives and Democrats was that it started with Democrats canceling conservatives, and then it went the other way. The mistake that could never be made was canceling each other out, because that's what the government ultimately wants. That's how this whole thing is going to go. You cancel each other out. I don't like what you say. Fine. You told me months ago I couldn't talk. Now you can't talk. That's what you see the left-right doing. And now we're getting to a point where the government's going to tell us, well, what's allowed and what's peaceful protest, what's okay, what's not. But what words could incite violence? Well, of course, talking about Israel can incite violence. So you can't talk about Israel. Because ultimately, to stop this New World Order from moving forward, people need to wake up to Israel. They need to wake up to what's going on, to the teachings of these specific people who are not who they claim. And of course, my most important thing that I can't emphasize enough that I care about is seeing fellow brothers and sisters in Christ deceived by these Jesuit soldiers, these governors like DeSantis, these Hollywood plants, etc., that are luring Christians into getting in bed with the devil, right? Because the Bible tells us about the synagogue of Satan. There'll be those that claim they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, right? Well, guess what? Christians right now are in bed with the synagogue of Satan. And that breaks my heart because all it takes is a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of understanding. And of course, we know the 501c3 churches will not call this out, but I will. But unfortunately, as my audience dwindles by design from exposing this stuff, I can't reach the amount of people that I normally would be able to reach and help. But ultimately, I'm going to continue to try to fight because this is what concerns me the most. Now, Mike Johnson, who I've covered, Jesuit soldier here, went to the campus of Columbia. Columbia is just sitting, it's literally, this whole thing is so staged, it's laughable. Mike Johnson goes there, right? Listen to what Mike Johnson said a couple days ago, okay, before we have more of this unrule and unrest and everything else, talking about bringing in martial law to the campus, et cetera, et cetera. Here's Mike Johnson openly mocking free speech. He says, enjoy your free speech, because he knows what's coming from this. Enjoy your free speech, chanting things at him that they would consider anti-Semitic. Enjoy your free speech. Everyone in the background laughs. Why? Because they know what's coming, because they're all soldiers for this New World Order government, and free speech will not exist in it.
Enjoy your free speech. The virus of anti-Semitism has spread across other campuses. By some counts, as many as 200 universities have a similar form of protest right now. Enjoy your free speech.
So that right there was stooping to light. Okay, right in front of our faces, saying it the way he said it. Enjoy your free speech. Well, because they know what's going to come of this. Now, let's talk for a minute about Columbia University, because this is always a good time for people to understand secret societies, right? How all these people in Congress are not there because they were smarter than you in school or had a better recommendation at school, okay? People, well, you always hear these stories about, well, his father was in this fraternity, his father was in that fraternity. That's how this guy got into this school. That's how this whole thing works. They network through Ivy League universities, not just big colleges, Ivy League specifically. You can find many things out there about Columbia University. Their prominent secret societies are St. Anthony Hall, the NACMs, and the SECEMs, okay? These are their secret societies. And you know how many people have come through those secret societies? Okay, We have presidents, Barry Soetoro Obama, Colombia, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Franklin Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, all very prominent Freemasons, right? Prominent Freemasons who proudly told everyone that they were 33rd degree Masons. So when I talk about the universities and then the secret societies, understand this if you're new to it all. When you hear about these guys who are in a secret society, like it's a frat, it's not a frat. Freemasons, not a frat. Ivy League secret societies like this, like Columbia, like the ones I just mentioned, are not frats. They want you to think it's a frat. What they are breeding grounds. These are where they network. And they don't just network because they're smarter than you. They network because they believe in the same philosophy. And that philosophy is a Luciferian philosophy. They worship Lucifer. Their teachings tell them this. And Freemasonry is really etched into the core of all the secret societies. Okay? So when you look at Columbia, you can see how many presidents, how many cabinet secretaries, how many attorney generals have gone through there. How many just people in cabinet now that have gone there. Directors of the CIA who have gone through Columbia. Members of the Federal Reserve who have gone through there. We have Chelsea Clinton go. I mean, all of them go through these universities because this is how they network. So it's a perfect place to stage what is a controlled protest. Out of the controlled protest come many different things, but mainly comes free speech. What is proper protest versus what is not? Because we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't been told yet what's peaceful protest, what's proper protest, right? We've heard about Jan 6. Everybody's let that sink in for a while now, right? What they were telling us. Okay, well, this is going to be up there with the bigger events. With a coming false flag, just taking over the hallways at the school isn't enough. But all these schools are now shutting down around the United States of America. And it shows you how the hive mind works. You plant agents at certain schools. The agents do these protests. The people then start joining these protests. They have no idea at all. These are some of the dumbest people alive, right? But they're at universities. They think that they're smart. What we've seen the government do is empower really, really stupid people, right? But it's not a knock on the people who believe this, because we've all been there before. The majority of us at some point in time were asleep. We weren't born awake. We had to figure out what was going on. Events started happening. We got suspicious, right? 2 buildings fell for some people. For me, the McMartin preschool, it's all I needed to see. And then people like us started going, okay, something's going on. And then you wake up. So these kids don't understand what's going on. They're getting their information from the wrong sources. Of course, that's why they silence a lot of sources that expose both sides of what's happening, because they're playing you against each other. That's the motto, pawns in the game. So these kids show up at these protests. The university gets what they want, which is ultimately to shut a lot of these campuses down. And people out there go, I don't understand how they benefit from that. They stay in the hive mind at these universities because everything's going to be digital. That's part of what just happened with the outbreak. College, all of it's going to be digital. You might say, well, why would it be digital? Just to imprison them in their homes? It's more than that. Okay? They could fully control the curriculum with everything digital. They can't control a specific professor. He might say something. He might have stumbled upon a YouTube channel and woken up and then suddenly started teaching his kids some of the stuff that he heard on that YouTube channel. I doubt it, but it could happen. And when you're obsessed with control like they are, they know that having this all digital is full control. There is no altered curriculum. There's nobody that's going to go off script. They have full control over all of it. So eventually that is the next thing that's going to happen as well with college universities. But these kids don't seem to understand it. Let me bring this back to Freemasonry and Albert Pike again. Okay, it's very important to understand that the world wars are staged. These people and these secret societies are the same people who set up groups like the KKK. Okay, I've exposed Albert Pike's connection to the KKK very early on in my YouTube career, even though supposedly I'm brand new to all this. The wars are staged. They're herding mechanisms. Ultimately what wars are governments working together against the civilians. That's what the wars are these days, okay? The governments over there are people dying? Yes. Are people being hurt? Yes. Is horror happening? Yes. But it's staged horror because the governments are pretending they're at war with each other. But what they're really at war with are civilians, okay? And these people out there are picking sides. What they should be doing is realizing that Israel is a military state. It's an industrial complex. It was created in 1948. It is not and has nothing to do with what the Bible speaks of Israel. But because of where it's located, they are able to convince people with Jerusalem. That's how this has all worked since 1948. 1948 wasn't that long ago, okay? So we reference the Bible with Israel. We ain't referencing the state of Israel. Look it up. There's a difference between the two. When it became a state, okay, and this is all about a certain group of people who are not who they claim to be, who know if people find out who they are, the same thing will happen to them that has happened in every period of history, which is they've been exposed, they've been run out, and they've been taken care of. But now with technology, now with the way that things are going and how fast this is ramped up, They know now more than ever they need to suppress any speech against the state of Israel. And sadly, Christians have jumped on board and support this because they aren't interpreting scripture properly. They aren't understanding. They don't understand the history of the state of Israel. They don't understand why it was formed. They don't understand that the events they claim that are happening over there could never happen if you actually understand warfare, just basic warfare. That the amount of money that's been pumped in Israel, they could never be sucker attacked by anybody else, okay? None of these things could occur unless they want them to occur. And of course, they want it to occur because of this, because the blueprint for World War III, listen to it if you haven't heard it before, because it'll sound strangely familiar to what's going on in the world. The Third World War, and again, this is from Albert Pike, the same person that all the Freemasons and all the members of secret societies follow his teachings, which all go back to Luciferian doctrine, where he talks about Lucifer being the god of this world, the one that they worship, okay? Out of his mouth, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists, Israel, and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. So Islam against the state of Israel, and they mutually destroy each other. Remember, one of the mottos, one of the things, order out of chaos, that they promote, the Phoenix Rising. Okay, for anyone out there that thinks, well, then Israel's going to destroy itself. They're not going to destroy themselves. They're going to rename themselves for the better good of the agenda. The rebirth. These terms I always expose what the symbolism means. It all ties into this. The same with these groups like the CIA, the FBI. They're going to all be gone. It's just going to have a new name, and everyone's going to be like, yay, we got rid of the CIA. They're not going to realize it's the same people with a new name and a new title. That's what the OSS was. Oh, they got rid of the OSS. Yeah, it became the CIA. So again, Islam and political Zionism destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, America, other nations, UK, we see a lot of stuff going on all around the earth right now. Other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. That's the Christians who are following Israel, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. This is what Albert Pike wrote, 33rd degree Freemason, okay, about how out of the New World Order comes the worship of Lucifer, the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, the Luciferian doctrine. Watch how many Christians become disappointed, disillusioned with Christianity because they're going to see the current state of Israel manipulate and play out end times prophecies in front of their faces. One of the key terms in that statement was exhaustion, exhausting nations. If you actually watched like old school warfare, even look at like Waco. People out there don't even realize, like during Waco, the siege of Waco, that the government was like blasting music during the night when they were trying to sleep. These types of tactics exhaust the enemy. And guess who the enemy is to these people? It's not Zionism or Islam. It's all of us. It's world citizens, or whatever you want to call all of us, human beings living the earth, who they ultimately want to persuade into their Luciferian doctrine and lead into total global enslavement. This entire thing is going to play out the way that they plan on having it play out. People are just going back and forth. All of a sudden, right? Democrats are anti-Israel all of a sudden. Like I said, just think for 5 seconds. 6 months ago, the same people who were trying to censor everybody out there that said anything about Israel are now going, wait a minute, it's not anti-Semitic. All right, do you see where this is going? They see how they just keep maneuvering you how they want to without you actually thinking about where your standpoint is, what your views are on this, because nobody understands what's actually happening. They're just following, oh, my favorite celebrity supports this side. My favorite celebrity supports that side. You noticed how the celebrities are divided on it, right? And if they don't say the right thing, everybody online goes after them. It's all done by design. Psychological war. And you have people who care about a war that they know nothing about other than images on a TV screen that don't even realize what it is an assault and an attack on civilians. There's no war going on between a boogeyman group in a cave and the Israeli military. Israel would wipe them off the map in a millisecond with the technology they have. A millisecond. It wouldn't even be going on anymore. But that wouldn't be the point, because how could they mentally exhaust you if they just did that? How could they actually bring about a new world order without accomplishing everything on that checklist that has to come out of this staged third world war? It's been staged for a long time. You're watching it play out, and you're watching people reacting to staged government events on campuses who are joining in and don't even know. They don't even know what they're in on it for, because it seems like the right thing to do, right? Well, the right thing to do would say, you know what? Who's responsible for the bloodshed? The governments over there are, right? And who controls Hamas? Who created it? Did any of these people know that Israel created Hamas? They literally created them. Did they go rogue, right? Does anyone in America realize that ISIS is actually a branch of the CIA? Of course they don't. The CIA openly admitted to creating ISIS. They're a product of our government. And they're moving people around like pawns. And this is going to ultimately lead to a lot of things that come out of it, but ultimately, above free speech, above, shutting down universities, above division, ultimately, this will lead to a new world order. And we have to watch how it plays out around us. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. Remember, all these Ivy League schools are perfect breeding grounds for these events, because the majority of students there are the types of people who are very self-empowered, that they got into these Ivy League schools. They don't have a clue about the secret societies at these schools. Goes to Skull and Bones, Lock and Key. I've exposed all of them. So you all can see some of those videos. You know where to find them if you want to see them. But these empowered young people, all they need is to hear 5 seconds of a news clip, and they automatically take it as fact. They need to see a quick clip on TikTok, and they think that's what's really going on. And this is what I talk about when I say how they control your perception of what's going on so that they can herd you and manipulate you like this. So they create these protests, they create these events, they get you to join in on it, they get you to emotionally invest in it. You don't even know what you're emotionally invested in. Some clips you saw on the TV, but if you actually start waking up, you realize, wait a minute, the people who are giving me what is supposed to be news are just making it up. They're making it up, and it's affecting my life. It's affecting who I'm siding with. They're totally manipulating me like a psychotic husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. That's exactly what they're doing. But you have to wake up to the fact that the stuff they're showing you, they show it to you because they want you to see it. They want you to see it because they know they can get you to react to it. And when you react to it, they know they can move you around, ultimately like a pawn in the game. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.